Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Active Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Juliet McGrattan, author, speaker and former GP on a mission to help people find good health and happiness through putting on a pair of running shoes. Now, this show is available for download on all your favourite usual podcast apps, and you can also find Season 1 of the Active Health Podcast there too. Thank you very much to WiSP Sports for hosting this. Please do give them a follow on social media at WiSP Sports, and you can find me at Dr. Juliet McGrattan. Please come and join me in this series as I chat to both runners and health experts to dig into the problems that women face when they're trying to stay active. From motivation to menstruation, there are going to be no taboo topics. So I'm kicking off this season with the topic of the marathon. 26.2 miles, 42.195 kilometres. You know, it's the ultimate goal for many millions of runners, and for some, it can be a life-changing experience. I'm wondering if you've done one, if you want to do one, and perhaps finding out what does it take to reach that goal and what health issues can crop up along the way. So today I'm delighted to be joined by sports journalist Nancy Gillen, content creator at Give Me Sport Women. Now, Nancy is fresh off the finish line of her first marathon, the 2021 London Marathon. So while her muscles are probably still aching, I want to grab my chance to hear all about her marathon journey and perhaps discuss any health issues she's experienced along the way. I think we can always learn so much from each other. So if you've always wanted to do a marathon, this is going to give you great insight into how to achieve it with confidence. And if you've already done them, then just join me in reliving your first marathon experience and perhaps see how it compares to Nancy's. So Nancy, thank you very much for joining me. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to relive the London Marathon all over again.
Well, I think we need to start with congratulations, really, don't we? I mean, what an amazing achievement. How are you feeling now?
I'm feeling really good. Feeling like I think obviously you've got such a big build up to the big day. And then you've it's a bit strange, I think, life afterwards, because you've kind of geared so much, you know, like going out to run, the way you sleep and the way you eat and so on. And then you have this amazing day and then it goes. So it takes adapting, I think, back to kind of normal life. But I'm sure we'll get into this, but I'm hoping to do a few more races in the future. So that's keeping me occupied. I
think you're right. It's all consuming for a while, isn't it? And then suddenly it's gone. And I know many runners can find it a bit of an anticlimax and actually sort of feel a little bit post-marathon blues, we call it. I don't know if that's something that you're experiencing.
I think I would say a little bit. Yeah, I would say obviously you're definitely on a massive high. Because it's such a big achievement and it was a great day. But yeah, I think it is just the not having that kind of goal in the future. And I think, you know, wanting to relive it again, but I suppose, you know, kind of the physical and emotional challenge that it is. So yeah, I'd probably say I have had a bit of post-marathon blues, but I know that there's a lot more races I can do in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Well, can we just kind of dial right back to sort of pre-marathon, pre-signing up? What was it that actually made you go, okay, I'm going to do it?
Well, I only started running in lockdown. So I'm actually a really new runner. Previously, I absolutely hated it. Like I was always quite sporty. I always, you know, I did was fairly good at PE at school, not to blow my own trumpet. And I played football at school and at uni. So I was relatively sporty, but just running really wasn't my thing. And I'd actually injured my knee as well. So I tore my ACL in 2017, I think it was. So I went to the gym a lot to do kind of rehab for that. And that was kind of where I was at before the pandemic started. And then, when lockdown hit, the gyms were obviously shut. And at that point, I was really enjoying going to the gym. I had this kind of system in place. It was just, I found it massively beneficial for my mental health and stuff. So I was like, okay, I need to, have some form of exercise in my life. I kind of have this routine. And the only option really in lockdown was running. And I know a lot of people had the same thing. And it was also great because working from home, you've got so much time in the day because there's absolutely nothing else you can do. So we had, there was the charity challenge here where you ran 5K and then donated £5 to charity. And I went out with my sister to do that. And it was in April 2020. And I couldn't complete the 5K. I stopped at least 3 or 4 times. And then I was like, okay, right. So for my lockdown challenge, I just want to run a 5K, like without stopping. So I went out with my sister a few more times. And then I got just very, very competitive with myself. Finally managed to do the 5K in one go. And then, just from there, really wanted to do the 5K faster. And then I was like, oh, how far could I go? Did like a half marathon. And then at that point, it was coming around the time of the London Marathon ballot. And I'm quite like a spontaneous person. I do things without really thinking about the consequences. I knew that it was quite hard to get a place in the ballot. So I thought I'll just enter it, see what happens. If I get it, then, that's cool. I'll just have a marathon to do. So I entered it kind of on a whim. So much so that on the day of the ballot being announced, I didn't actually check. I just got an email the next day saying you've got a place in the London Marathon. And I was like, okay, great. This is like what I'm doing now. So that's how basically it was I kind of went from 0 to 100 with the running because it happened in a very short space of time. But it's been such a positive to come out of coronavirus and lockdown and all of that because it's given me this new love basically.
So once you'd got that email saying you've got a place, and first of all you were like, oh great, what did you actually feel? What did you think? What were you worried? Were you just excited?
I wouldn't say worried because, like I said, I don't really think about the consequences of things. I was a bit like, okay, wow, this is going to be a really big challenge. Just because like relatively recently in that point of my life, I'd hated running. And I'd always said the biggest challenge that I could do if I wanted to really, really challenge myself would be like a marathon. So I was aware that it was a massive task. But I was also really excited. Like I went on YouTube and I watched people's like experiences of the London Marathon. Like there were some celebs that had like done a little kind of YouTube thing around it, or just like normal people that had run it. And kind of read people's blogs about it, and everyone was saying like it's such a good day and all the crowds are there and stuff like that. And then I was thinking, like if I do this, it'd be such a big achievement. So I think excitement was actually the predominant emotion, and a bit of like bewilderment as well, because it was just quite out of the blue.
But perhaps watching those people achieve it who hadn't expected or thought they could before just gave you that bit of confidence and motivation that you could do it too, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I read a blog about a woman that had quite bad anxiety leading up to the marathon and hardly trained, and then she still managed to do it as well. So I thought, you hear people that have quite negative experiences about it but still complete it, and they're still ultimately happy that they've done it. So when kind of reading that, I was like, I definitely think I can do this. And
did you have any health concerns? Sorry.
My knee. So yeah, like I said, I tore my ACL in 2017, and I hadn't really gone back to any kind of proper exercise. I'd just been doing strengthening stuff at the gym. And I was a bit concerned that my knee wouldn't be able to take doing the marathon. But I went to a physio and he checked it out and he said, you're fine. Just kind of keep strengthening it, make sure it's strong at the gym and do strengthening exercises. That was definitely my main concern, just because I think anyone that's done their ACL, like the fear of doing it again it's just such a terrifying thought to me. But then luckily running, you're just kind of running in a straight line. There's not really it's not really kind of unpredictable terrain. So you don't normally do your ACL running. So I was pretty safe. And once I got the green light from the physio as well, I was like, yeah, I'm confident that I can do this.
Sure. Good idea, wasn't it, to get that clearance and again give you that bit of extra confidence that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, my mum basically forced me. My mum was way more scared than me. She wanted the reassurance, I think, more than anyone, that I'd be fine doing it. So yeah, but it was a really good idea to do that.
And how did you approach the training? Did you kind of grab a plan or the marathon plan, or did you make up your own or get a personal trainer, or how did you approach it?
So I just kind of went on Google. I was looking, so at that point I'd done one half marathon in not a bad time. I think it was something like 2 hours and 20, but I was like woefully underprepared when I did it. I did it just like after work one day, and I didn't bring water out with me, and it was quite hot, and I just cramped up for the last 5K, and it was horrible. But I had that 2 hours, 20 minutes in my mind. So I kind of worked out, okay, what could I do for the marathon? And I think I set kind of a benchmark of like 5 hours. So I looked up like 5-hour marathon training plans. And I just found one online that seemed, I got a bit overwhelmed when I was looking, because there was a lot of different ones and ones with kind of, like interval training and hill stuff, and which is obviously quite necessary. But I just found the amount of information and training plans was a lot. But I managed to find one that I could kind of take in easily. Like I could consume the information easily. It seemed realistic with how I could fit it in my schedule, especially with, at that point, coming out of lockdown and social life and kind of going into the office and stuff, coming back. So I just found kind of one that worked for me. I didn't follow it really strictly. I kind of followed it, obviously, doing a certain amount of runs every week, and then at a certain point increasing it. And then obviously you've got the weeks where you're doing really long runs every weekend, and then having the tapering period at the end. So I kind of followed that basis, but I wasn't really strict on myself with it, in that if I missed a week because of something, because I was ill, or I just had a night out with my friends and I didn't want to run the next day, I didn't really beat myself up about it, which I think was quite a good way of doing it. And I think now that I've done it, the marathon, if I did another one, when I go back to training, I now kind of know, and I know the things that I would want to improve and the ways I could do it better. But yeah, I think it was a fairly like relaxed way of doing it. It's basically just getting all my information off Google and hoping for the best. But it did seem to work out okay.
I think that is one of the things that puts people off, isn't it? It is the training and how on earth they're going to fit it in amongst the rest of their commitments that they have in life. And I think that's a really important point that you sort of say you looked a lot, so you found one that you thought was most doable for you, but you were still really flexible and didn't beat yourself up when you didn't hit every session on the plan.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was just about being realistic and not being like, oh, I haven't done this run, I'm not going to be able to do the marathon. Because I knew at the time when I was getting to the longer runs, I was like, I feel really good in myself. So I know this is working. Like I feel I can do this. And I was seeing progression and I felt fitter. So I think because of that, it was just very positive throughout the whole thing. So there wasn't really any point where I was like, oh no, I can't do this. So that was good. It was training was definitely a good experience.
Did you do it all on your own? I mean, I know it was lockdown and we were limited, but did you run with other people or?
No, I did. Yeah, I did it all by myself.
Amazing.
And I wasn't even at the start. Towards the end, I got AirPods and started listening to stuff for the longer run. So I started listening to music and podcasts. At the start, I wasn't even listening to anything. Then when I started listening to stuff, I was like, this is a game changer. Like, why wasn't I doing this before? Because you can really just get into the zone and run. But no, I never ran with anyone else. I'm still not sure if I would anyway. I don't know. I don't think I really like the idea of having someone who, we're kind of relying on running at the same pace. And like I was saying before, part of why I really love it, especially on the longer runs, is just getting into a zone and like listening to something or just kind of using it almost as time to like unwind or kind of de-stress a bit and just, really enjoy myself. So I don't know if someone else came with me, they might ruin that. That sounds really antisocial. But I think I think I prefer to be a lone runner.
I think it's a really good highlights a really good point that people take different things out of running and for many people, it is their time on their own. I certainly do a lot of runs on my own, and it's stress relief, and it helps to keep you mentally well. Obviously, running helps to keep you physically well, but often it is that mental health benefits and that headspace that actually gives you the most benefit when it comes to running.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since doing it, I have looked at like running clubs and stuff, and I did, my first park run the other week, which was with people. If a friend asked, I wouldn't say no to it. It's maybe something I will kind of explore in the future. But yeah, I think for me, what I get out of running is like you said, kind of that, the unwinding and the mental health side of it. So it's just something nice to do by yourself. I do enjoy running by myself.
Can I just ask you one thing about sort of mental health and running and just sort of mental strength, really? Did you find, particularly on your own in those long runs, that you were lacking in motivation or commitment that you thought you could get to the end? And did you practice any of the sort of techniques that you're taught about, using mantras or visualizations, things that can help you to build mental strength when the going gets tough? Did you try out any of those techniques?
I didn't try any out, no. But I think something that massively motivates me is like the sense of achievement. So that was kind of the main thing I did. If I was feeling a bit kind of demotivated, it was like, you set out to do this 25-kilometer run, like think about what it's going to feel like when you do it. And then I also found as well, because I run on Strava, I also found that helped me a lot with motivation, because it goes onto like the app and then people like see it. And it was almost like Strava kind of kept me accountable for the run that I was going to do. Because I wanted to do like 25, and I wanted again the sense of achievement. I think having that, when you go on your Strava, you've run 25 kilometers and your friends seeing it, and you give kudos on Strava, which I really like. It's like a really wholesome thing. So I think it was that. It was, I didn't really do any kind of mantras within my own head, but I just kind of focused on what that sense of achievement would feel like at the end.
Yeah, and I think that accountability is really helpful, whether it is writing it down in a diary for yourself, whether it is sharing it with somebody on social, or lots of people on social media, or using an app like Strava, and just getting a little well done kudos from somebody who can make all the difference, make you feel more proud.
Yeah, that's it. I think if you kind of did it and that was it, you'd always be like, it's always, not to like suggest that I always kind of need adoration, but it definitely is a perk. I think when people are like, wow, that's incredible, and you're like, you just have that sense of pride in what you've achieved. I think for me, that's something simple to keep you going, isn't it? Because it's not easy. But if we fast forward to marathon day itself, and were you ready? Were you on the start line thinking, yeah, let's go? Or were you worrying about things and thinking, oh no, gosh, I'm not quite ready? No, I felt really good. I felt physically great, and I was really the last week, the days up until the marathon, I was so antsy. I was just it seemed to drag by. Like I really just wanted it to be there, and I was really, really excited. Like I said with the training plan, I was really happy with how my long runs went. Like I felt physically great. Obviously, I was a little bit. I think because it was the first marathon, you're just a bit unsure how things work. Like you just really don't know what to expect. And there was kind of things about like, what time you were getting there and if there was going to be a toilet and all of that. But it all went really swimmingly for me. Like I literally turned up, I needed the toilet, queued for the toilet. And as soon as I came out the toilet, they called my wave. So literally just went straight to the start line and did it. And there was kind of no waiting around. But yeah, I felt great. I think the only thing for me that I was concerned about was my period was due. Well, my tracker said the period was due the week after, but then it kind of started, getting spotting and stuff like that, like signs that it was coming, like the couple of days before. And I actually got cramps the night before. And that was stressing me out a bit because I was like, sometimes I can have very painful periods. thinking if I have a very painful period tomorrow, it's just going to ruin the day. I don't know if I can physically do it. But I just made sure I had painkillers with me. And I think almost, I don't know if this is actually scientifically possible. I think my body might have actually just held off. Because it was fine. I didn't really get any cramps and my period didn't start fully until like 2 days after. But that was the only thing that I was a bit like, this could make this go wrong.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It can be unpredictable, especially when you're doing really long runs and you've got a big event and that kind of hormonal changes in your body. Everything gets a little bit upset. But wow, it was great that perhaps the adrenaline overcame everything and, like you say, just held it off.
I had people telling me as well that the endorphins from the day would mean that I wouldn't feel the pain as much. But yeah, I think I'd hope in the future, because like you said, like just before your period, your body is definitely not on top form. So I'd be interested to see if I did another one and it was at a better time in my cycle, whether that would have a difference at all. I don't know. But luckily, yeah, it didn't have any obvious impact on the race. So I was very thankful for that.
It didn't, did it? Because I was tracking you and I was looking at your splits and my goodness, you ran so consistently and you just paced yourself really well. Did you plan for that?
Not really. And I know this because I know, again, with the training, I know there's ways of doing it where you do certain runs at marathon pace, you do certain runs at like a different pace. I didn't really do any of that. Like my whole mentality for it was like, just run at what you feel comfortable at. I normally when I run, I just have my phone and Strava does my pace for me, but I don't really check it. So I don't check it. I literally just run at what I feel comfortable at. But for the marathon, I borrowed my friend's Garmin, which had the pace on. So I was like, okay, I'm aiming for 4 hours and a half. I know vaguely what pace. I calculated what pace. I think it was like something like 6, because I do it in kilometers. It was like 6 minutes 20 a kilometer. So I was, I had my friend's Garmin on. I was looking at it, but it was a bit erratic. It kept skipping kind of from like 5:50 to like 6:30 to like 6:10. But I kind of felt good, knew that I was roughly in the right area. And I think because I'd had that mentality of like, just run in training, just run what you feel comfortable at. I was able to stay consistent throughout the whole race. Just made sure I didn't like absolutely sprint in the, get excited and go really fast at the start. And then just ran what I was comfortable at. And then managed to come in at 4 hours, 31 and 5 seconds, pretty much bang on the time I wanted. So it kind of, somehow that plan of just doing what I felt comfortable with just worked out perfectly somehow.
But it really is a masterclass in how to run your first marathon. Just from the way you approached it, from the way you made your training work for you, for the way you were relaxed, and actually how you ran on the day, just bang on exactly what you trained for. And I think that's probably really important, that you trained for it. You worked hard and you didn't just do a bit of running and turn up and expect to get your 4.5 hours. So
yeah, I think that definitely was the main thing. Like I think I was feeling confident before, but not in a cocky way, like more like, I know I've really trained hard for this. Like I have done 6 months of training. I have, like the 3 weeks before, I lived a very boring life and like didn't drink or anything and just like really looked after myself. So I was like, I know I didn't want to come across as arrogant or anything when I was saying, I think I'll do it in this time, but I just genuinely like trained for it. So I was confident I could do it.
Was it how you expected? Were there any surprises along the way? Any time that something went wrong or just something that happened that you really weren't prepared for?
I'd say I needed the toilet like straight away, which I'd never had on a long run. I think it was just because I was maybe drinking a bit too much water at the start. So I obviously went to the toilet before I started, but probably about 5K in, I needed the loo again. Obviously it's fine because they've got toilets around the course, but I didn't want to stop. I wanted to do the whole thing without stopping. And every time I saw a toilet, there were people queuing. So I ran the whole thing without going to the toilet, but I did need the toilet the whole time. So I think I'd be a bit more careful with that, just the water side of it, because it did take me by surprise that I needed the loo, because I'd never had that in a training run. The other thing that really surprised me, so like I said, I wanted to do the whole race without stopping. I think because I was using, I took some energy gels. I think I mistimed the last energy gel just slightly. I took it slightly too early, I think. So towards the end, I was like, I mean, obviously as well, because I'd run the whole marathon. So I was very tired. And when it got out onto embankment, going down towards Big Ben, I was like, okay, this is like knackering now. But in my head, I was like, okay, you can just get to like, I was going by kilometers, get to like kilometer like 40 or 41, and that last like kilometer or two would be really, really motivating. It would like see you through. You won't. It doesn't matter that you won't have any energy because you'll be so motivated. But then, yeah, when I got to the last kilometer and then I saw the 600 meter sign to go, my brain was just like, no. Like I can't run anymore, and I stopped and I walked 400 meters and then ran the last 200 meters. So that really took me by surprise, because I was really expecting that part of the marathon to be incredibly motivating, to feel like, oh, I'm so close, like I can do this. But it was actually the exact opposite. Like I just was just my body, my brain just completely over, like it just, yeah, I was just like, I just can't run anymore. So that really took me by surprise. I mean, it's all part of the learning process, isn't it? So if I did another race, I'd just be aware of that, like not be relying on adrenaline and a motivation for the last like 2K, and just know that I need a boost. Thinking back about it now, like I should have maybe had some sweets for the last like couple of K, or put on like a song I really liked, or maybe even just like called someone or something like that. But at the time, you don't think about things like that. But now I know for the next race.
Yeah, I think having those little strategies, because those voices in your head telling you to stop get so loud that you actually really, you just believe that they're right. And it's kind of to expect them and have something to throw back at them, whether it is just you're literally shouting out loud at them, or like you say, you're finding some kind of distraction or something that you can do that you know will get you through. Because like you say, you've done 26 odd miles, to stop 600 meters for a walk just before the end is it doesn't seem right, does it?
Yeah, it's just so bizarre. But then afterwards I was seeing the footage of people really out of it at the end, and I was like, yeah, if you do think about it, it's you've put your body through so much, and it was just kind of the final straw. It was like I hit the wall right at the end. But yeah, it's all. But
you crossed the line.
So. Yeah, exactly. And I did cross the line running, which was what I wanted to be doing. So.
And you got your medal, and you're officially a marathon runner. How do you feel now? Has it hit you? Do you kind of appreciate what you've done?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's always quite strange, because I'm really, really like so proud of it. But I think when you've done the training and you do really long runs, it obviously you don't do a marathon distance, but it becomes quite normal that your body can do that. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's just a bit, I think, if you went, for someone that doesn't run at all, it's an incredible achievement, and it is, but then it's also now kind of just normal that it's incredible that my body can run that far, but it's almost normal that it can do that. But yeah, I feel like I absolutely loved the day. The whole thing was great. Like the atmosphere was incredible, and I had like friends and family there, and it was just, there's like, the sense of achievement was great, and it's just definitely given me the bug to do it again. And I know I also want to just maybe not keep the marathon level of fitness, but it's just been so great to like get to a point where I feel very fit and I have the ability to run so far, and I want to keep that up. So the motivation is definitely still there.
And do you think that feeling, like you say, of strength and power and the confidence of the amazing thing your body can do, has that helped you in other areas of your life?
I think it does just make you feel generally more confident in kind of everything. I think it gives you, especially I think because I hated running so much in the past and like really didn't think I could ever do a marathon. I think it just does show, not to sound cheesy, that you literally can do anything. If you really put your mind to it and if you really work hard, you can do it. So I think obviously from learning that from the marathon, you can apply it to kind of anything in life. So it definitely gives you confidence to just kind of tackle anything that you want to do.
So it sounds to me as if this whole sort of marathon journey, yes, it's been proving to yourself physically that you're strong, that your knee is okay now and that you can run a marathon on a previously injured knee. But actually a lot of it has been about mental health, about finding something to help you through lockdown, about achieving a task and a challenge that you didn't think you could do by breaking it down and training properly and working hard, and that hopefully now you're going to reap the rewards of all of that effort that you've put in.
I think that definitely does summarize it up. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just, the maybe the motivation of kind of going further, or I saw people doing the marathon that went and did Manchester like 2 weeks later, and then that blows my mind in itself. And it's like, okay, so I've done something that has blown my mind, that I could do the marathon. So like, could I do something else?
Now what's next?
And it kind of gives you that like excitement for looking forward to other things that you could potentially do.
And I think finding something that you fancy is really important in overcoming those sort of post-marathon blues that I know hit a lot of people, can be quite severe for some people as well. And maybe finding your next goal, whether it is another marathon or whether it's dialing back to half a marathon and or getting a parkrun PB, but just having something else to aim for can be really, really helpful.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I did the parkrun. I mean, I probably would have done it before, but because of it's only really just come back from lockdown. It was only in summer, I think it came back. And then at that point I was kind of just doing my own training plan. Just the idea of straight after the marathon having that, just being able to go to an event with people around you and running. And when I did it at the weekend, I found it really got a bit competitive. It definitely spurred me on because I was like, I just want to overtake people. It was just having those like little things. I mean, I really enjoyed parkrun, but yeah, like you said, I think I'd love to do a few half marathons, like proper event half marathons, because I still haven't done one of those. And then I've re-entered London for next year, and then potentially me and some of my friends are considering Berlin Marathon as well.
Fabulous.
It's a bit pricey. We were surprised by it's quite a bit more pricey than the London Marathon, but obviously it's just the whole experience of it, isn't it? And I like Berlin is like my favourite city, so just running a marathon in my favourite city, I think would be incredible.
There's something very special, I think, about a bit of marathon tourism, and it's a great way to see a city as well. Yeah. So definitely. What would be, just as a closer, if someone's listening to this who's thinking, oh gosh, maybe I could do it, what would be your biggest piece of advice for someone who's considering signing up for their first marathon?
I think first thing is just do it. Like, I know it sounds stupid, but just don't necessarily think about what you're signing yourself up for. Like, you might as well just sign up for it. And then having that goal will definitely spur you on. I think, just not really considering how much of a mammoth task it is. Having your training plan, looking at it at a week basis, you're just essentially getting yourself fitter week on week. Like, you don't really need to think of, at some point I'm going to have to run 42.2 kilometers. It's just, you're getting fitter week on week. And then I think you'll find yourself in a point where you can just run that. So I think, that would be my advice, to just go for it. Not be too kind of overwhelmed by the task, and just know that, if you follow a kind of plan and just dedicate yourself to it, you will 100% be able to do it for sure. I'd definitely, anyone that is considering it, I'd say 100% do it, because it's just such a fun day.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it's a few years since I ran one, but I tell you what, after this conversation, I am fired up. I've entered London too, the ballot. So maybe next year we might get to do it together.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I've got all my friends have signed up as well. So I'm hoping some of them get it as well. Just, message them all after, like, guys, you have to do this. So hopefully a few of them will get it as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Nancy, so much for sharing your journey. As I say, I think it is an amazing example of a first marathon runner's experience and how to do it right, to be quite honest. It's a wonderful achievement. So congratulations again. And thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been really fun.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to episode 1, season 2 of the Active Health podcast. Just a little reminder, you can download this show on your usual podcast app. If you want to find Nancy, she's on Twitter at Nancy_Gillen, that's with an EN, and on Instagram at NancyGillen_sport. You can also find Nancy on the WiSP Sports Desk. She co-hosts the weekly news podcasts, so do listen in and hear her there as well. I'm on social platforms at Dr. Juliet McGrattan, and please give our hosts a follow. You can find them at WiSP Sports, that's WISP Sports. Enrich your feed with them, conversations, news, stories from the world of women's sports, and you can also head to their website, wispsports.com. Thank you for listening, and please join me for episode 2 coming soon.